Bro, what the fuck?
just make sure you drop them every time. What's up, YouTube? If you're new here, welcome to the Car-nivores YouTube channel. If you've been here before, welcome back to the Car-nivores YouTube channel. So today what I'm bringing to you guys is a new headlight install on the Vette. These are the Corvette Innovationz sleepy headlight conversion. If you're just like me, you love pop-up headlights, but maybe you thought that they've always looked kind of weird, or they just needed a little bit of a change to be cool. One day I was telling Justin about, like, man, I want some LEDs, man, but I don't want just LEDs. I want to do like the sleepy headlight LEDs, kind of like the 240s and the Miatas and stuff like that, and just have like a LED bar on there. I'm like, maybe I can custom make it. So one day Justin was like, man, you should probably just look it up. Someone's probably done it. And I was like, I don't know, man. I haven't seen it. Usually Corvette people are pretty fucking traditional, you know? But damn sure I get on Google, bam, Corvette Innovationz pops up. So here we are. Before we get started, I actually filmed yesterday how to install everything and blase, but it's not as simple as it seems. So if you're similar to me, my car is a 99 and it has 230,000 miles on it. So this plastic has taken a beating on this car. I ran into a lot of complications with the car, not with Corvette Innovationz product. So I just want to make sure that you know that there's a disclaimer. Another thing that I wanted to warn you about is, if you're going to do this and you haven't done a fog light conversion, LED fogs or LED turn signals or LED DRLs, you want to go ahead and get those now, or beforehand, because it'll be a lot easier for you to install those things while you're digging into these headlight conversions. So it's like a 2-second step instead of having to lift up the car, pull off that little bottom panel, and reach up in there and get those lights. Like, it just takes too much time for something that's so simple. While you're doing this, you can just go in, pull the bulb out, and put it back in. So that's all it takes. But anyway, that's just another heads up. Today I will be installing some Corvette Innovationz sleepy headlights. They are LEDs, and I am super excited because not a lot of people have these. So I'm going to try to figure out how to install them because I have no idea what I'm doing. But what I'll do is I'll probably go ahead and install one, figure it out, and then record myself installing the second one so that I don't fuck it up, or I can make my mistakes off camera, you know what I mean? Okay, so it is significantly later in the day. This thing whooped my ass. I ran into quite a few complications. I guess it's technically aftermarket and it's not a bolt-on part, so there was a lot of things that I had to change and do over, and I had to redo like a lot of alignments. There were a lot of things broken on the car already that I didn't know of. That caused some issues. Some rust in the screws caused some issues. So oddly enough, it was simple but complicated because of weird little nicks and cranny things. So Now I'm like extra happy that I'm doing this video in case anyone else has the same problem, and I'm going to help you not take forever to do this. So now that I have this done, I should be able to knock this one out in no time. So hopefully this video will help you go step by step and save you some time. Okay, first step, you have 1, 2, 3 screws. Okay, once you get those 3 screws off, you need to peel off this shroud carefully. It is a little sensitive, like everything else on Corvettes. All right, and there you go. Next up, you have 4 screws. You're gonna need T15s. There's a second one, and there are the other 2. Be careful using these because they tend to strip. See, just like that, it stripped. This is probably why this bolt and this, or this screw and that screw, were broken off on this side. This entire piece was just snapped off. And I'm assuming this is why, because everything strips for some reason. For these back screws, they're going to be a lot easier to get to with the headlights down. All right, now go ahead and remove. Carefully, not like I just did. Okay, next step, you have 4 screws right there. Should be the same size. All right, when you get those 4 screws off, pay attention to the markings from where those washers were. You want to make sure that it goes exactly into the same spot if your panel was lined up properly, because if it doesn't, it'll come out all wonky when you're done, when you're putting it back together. All right, next you're going to need a T20, and you're going to be getting this bolt and this nut, and be careful, this bolt is not going to be easy to get out. So you want to shove your T20 in there, and what I did, because I couldn't get anything to hold it tight enough, I got some vice grips and I tightened them onto this screwdriver here, and I used my ratchet on this side and undid it slowly, because this has, once again, this has Loctite in here, and you can break something or strip this hex head really easily. Okay, so you want an 8mm socket. Oh, there you go. This one actually came off pretty easy. The other side was not that easy. It was way more difficult. All right, once you got those 2 bolts off, this just drops safely just like that. So go ahead and unplug your lights. Here, look at this mess. So here's the stock low beam. So I need to get some, I need to cut this zip tie to get these HIDs out. Just like that. That off of there. And make that out. Now remember, gray is low beam, black is high beam. That's going to be very important later. Next, you need to take this nut, which is finger tight, not even finger tight now. Wiggle this off. This was very tight on the other side, and I didn't want to break it, but there we go. and get this entire assembly out of there. There you go. All right, before we go over to the table, this is a LED fog light. Right now is the best time with this headlight assembly out to go ahead and change the DRLs, the turn signals. Go ahead and change these. All you need to do is pop this plug off. Trying to do this one-handed. Bam. Unscrew that. Bam. And once you get that out, line up those studs. Twist it in. Use two hands to plug this up. Okay. Now, in the box, you get a headlight in each box. Every headlight is already pretty much put together. Then you get this bracket, comes with it, and that's it. Out of both boxes, there are no instructions, anything. You only get the headlight and the bracket. The headlight also comes with this bar here, but it comes off or you won't have any headlights. So that is all that's in the box. Now, this is where things are going to start getting interesting. So what I've learned is you want to make sure that you check this screw especially, and that one right there. All right, so this one looks pretty good, but you want to make sure before you attach this to this bracket, all of these are as tight as possible, especially or mainly this one and this one. You want to make sure they're as tight as possible. This one on the driver's side, it was rusty just like this, and it just spun on me, and I had no way to get it tighter. So what I ended up doing is I took this screw and these two screws inside of it. I took those out, popped this piece out, and pulled this back as far as possible, and then zip tied it together so that the headlight can come back, because it was going to hit the front bumper. So I'll show you more about that in a second, but let's go ahead and get to dismantling this part. Okay, first thing, you want to get your needle nose and get this little piece of metal right here. I don't really know what the technical term is for it. Don't do too much damage to it like I'm probably gonna do. There you go, pull it off. When you pull that off, you can get this pin out. All right, so now this is the stock bracket. All right, here is the aftermarket one, but we're gonna need to do things to that before we can fit it on. Okay, next you're gonna need a 10 mil for here, here, and here. All right, so for this one, you shouldn't have too much of a problem getting it off with a ratchet. All right, but on this side, this one, you're gonna be fine getting to it, but that side is gonna be a different story. All right, on this side, you're gonna need an extension so that you can grab on to that bolt. All right, so this is what you're gonna have left. Okay, good news is you don't need any of those screws or bolts. You don't need any of this, so get this out of the way. Okay, next what you need to do is tighten this screw and this screw as tight as possible. Hopefully I don't run into the same problem I had with the other side. You have to use this to tighten this, and this just kept spinning for me, and it made this difficult. So I'm going to spray some WD-40 on here, and hopefully it'll break it for me. But I hope it doesn't break. Okay, that did not work. This actually happened to me on the other side. It stripped on the inside. Okay, so this piece actually, it goes here, and I needed to get this screw as tight as possible, but when I was tightening this up, this started spinning and the screw wasn't going anywhere, probably because of that little bit of rust. But I managed to unscrew this from these 3 places, and this comes off, and I muscled this. Fortunately, this hex head did not spin or warp on me. That was a T15. So now I have that as tight as possible. Okay, before I put this back, I need to get this screw, which is in way worse condition, tight also. So let's see if we can get this done. But I'm gonna get some WD-40 first. All right, so next I'm gonna get my 7mm, which is what I was using last time to get this to spin. All right, see, it's pretty tight, so I don't want to break it. So what I'm gonna do, set that 7mm right there, and I'm gonna go ahead and get my T15 again and put it into this screw. All right, tighten it up, and it's not turning at all. Okay, so what I ended up doing was getting my 7mm, leaving it on here, and then taking my drill and just fucking going at this bitch, and it did not strip. So yeah, I got this to, oh, maybe it did strip. It did strip, but I think that's good enough. I think that's all the way. So that's basically what you wanted. You want this screw to come back as far as you can get it. Freaking 200,000 mile Corvette right there. All right, next I gotta get my other mistake screwed back on. All right, so you're gonna have a tab up here, a tab on this side too. Those need to go in first. That'll line up your screw holes. Next, finally, you want to line up this bolt. This pin goes into this hole, and this bolt lines up with that, the second hole. All right, and it doesn't actually line up perfectly because bolt on. There you go. Once you get it going, it'll go in there. But you want to make sure that you get this as tight as possible. All right, so this side is the more difficult side. You have to finesse these 2 screws through these holes. Oh wow. And line them up like that. Okay, don't be like me. I ended up actually having a 532 Allen that I can use in a driver. But this is the one that you want to be careful with, because sometimes, well, it doesn't line up perfectly. So you got to play with it a little bit. Make sure that it gets in there tight. See, it tightens up like that, but there's still that much bolt left. So you don't want that. All right, so what I ended up doing is double extending my drill here and fitting it in there. Let's go ahead and make sure this side's tight. Yep. There we go. Okay, now is when things get even more interesting. You want to have a file because this hole does not fit. So you're going to file the sides, just the sides, and maybe the screw that it goes on, which is this bolt right here. So what you want to do is pop this off and spin this to where you can use your file just like that, and you want to shave down the sides of it just a smidge. All right, so filing the bolt a little bit, and then you have to file the sides of it a lot, and I'll show you the comparison from the driver's side light. All right, here is the difference between how it came and how I had to file it to fit. Trying to get it to focus. This is the difference between stock and aftermarket. So that hole for the stock one is significantly bigger. All right, and what I recommend you doing to install this is go ahead and put the nut in first. Okay, get your socket ready. So when you put it on, as soon as the threads are in the proper position, you want to make sure it is as tight as possible. Your next step is take this face down all the way in, sit it gently. I actually forgot. You need to get a 5/16 bit and drill through this hole so that the pin will actually fit. And now you're gonna take this bracket. Oh, you wanna lift your light up, your headlights up. You're gonna take this bracket and we're putting it here, and we have to insert that pin from earlier straight through there. All right, so the pin goes in just like that. And then you wanna make sure that this clip is back on so that it sits tight. All right, next step. So you want to go back to those screws. All right, line it up. There we go. Get your nut. All right, now you go back to get your 8mm and your T15 and tighten it down. I almost forgot. Make sure you plug it into your, I choose the low beam setting. You can only choose low beam or high beam. Low beam's gray, high beam's black. All of the LEDs come on, so I chose low beam because I'd rather just have that on than having my high beam light on flashing at me all the time. All right, tuck that away. Next, you get this plate, and remember I mentioned before, you want to make sure when you tighten it down, line up all your screw holes. When you tighten it down, make sure all of your washers are in the same imprint that it was in last time, if you liked the alignment that you had beforehand. All right, once you're satisfied with that, you want to get your shroud, bam, Go ahead and squeeze it in there a little. There we go. Sit it down low so that you can get this in. And it's going to get tight. So up under here, this piece slides in. There you go, and it holds it in place just like that. And you want to start lining up. Bam! The full bar is,
yeah,
it is on. It is on. Alright. Then I think when I turn my brights on, nothing happens. Alright, and moment of truth, let's put it down. Oh. This one is stuck. That's what I'm afraid of. Why didn't it go down? Was it body? Do you think it was panels?
It just looks like it caught on something.